Final result shouldn't detract from the fact that the one-day series was a comprehensive triumph for India, much like the Test series had been for England. And you would have to argue that both series, in a sense, went according to the form book. England were favourites for the Test series. India went into the one-day series with a far greater record over the past couple of years. And they proved themselves again after having won the Champions Trophy in England 12 months earlier. Uh, you'd also have to say that India's success went hand in hand with some pretty shoddy cricket from the English. All sorts of questions about Alistair Cook as captain, the composition that was played in the first couple of games. I don't think England have any idea yet what their strongest 11 is. It was astonishing not to see a player like Ravi Bopara in the mix. Uh, for India, I think the questions that have been asked of this side, many of them still remain despite that 3-1 victory. But for the moment, given where they were after the Test series, they would take this. It was they were the manifestly superior side across the four games, no doubt about that. Very encouraging performances from the likes of Ajinkya Rahane and Suresh Raina, and they'll expect their bigger names to come good. I think it's far too early to start attributing success or failure to the changes in the backroom staff. The one thing I can say, and this is also based on what the players themselves said after they'd performed, players like Rahane and Shikhar Dhawan, I think Ravi Shastri has been a positive influence on the dressing room. That also has a lot to do with the kind of character that he is. He's relentlessly upbeat. There's hardly a negative bone in Ravi's body, and I think that's part of that has transmitted itself to the players. And I think you do need a figure like that in the dressing room. It'll be interesting to see. There are rumors of him being involved going forward in the World Cup campaign. It'll be interesting to see if the board actually explores that option because I think it's not a half bad one to have. As I said earlier, I still think that this Indian team has questions to answer, that the problems that it's had to confront in the past 12 months, especially in South Africa and New Zealand, those many of those problems still remain. The death overs bowling is a huge concern. MS Dhoni spoke about it after the loss in the final game. Uh, there simply aren't enough bowlers bowling Yorkers or trying to keep the batsmen tight in the final 10 overs. And you cannot expect that the pitches in Australia and New Zealand will help the spinners in the same way that the pitches back in England did. So I think that the bowling remains a concern, and obviously Virat Kohli, no half century in this series. That's his deterioration in form across the store has been a huge thing. Uh, but on the plus side, you've got Rahane scoring 100, Raina scoring 100, Dhawan nearly getting one. So I think if you look at the balance of it, they've gained more than they've lost from this series. You'd have to say that England find themselves in a familiar position in the build-up to a World Cup, with next to no idea what their best combination is. Playing cricket that is sort of stuck in the 1990s, uh, almost afraid to give their flair players the freedom to go out and express themselves. And you wonder how much of that has to do with Cook as captain. Is it really enough to have a player playing at the pace that he does at the top of the order when other teams have openers who comfortably score at more than a run a ball? I think England have to reassess their entire one-day strategy. They've got the talent in place. They've got the likes of Alex Hales, Moeen Ali, Owen Morgan. I'm sure will come good. They've got to bring Ravi Bopara back. Jason Roy should come in at some stage. I think you've got a nucleus of players who can actually play modern day one day cricket, but you've got to give them the freedom to go out and do that. And I don't think this team management has figured out the right strategy yet, or the right combination for that matter. Um, Too many of the bowlers also look one paced and pedestrian. I always find it quite surprising that Anderson can't reprise his heroics in Test cricket in the one-day arena, and I think they really miss Broad in this series. Broad does give them a kind of X factor that was definitely missing in these four matches. I don't know how much you can read into this result. 3-1 looks good on paper. I'm sure the players feel much better after what they went through in the Test series. But what impact will it have on the World Cup? I believe very little. The pitches are going to be completely different. These surfaces, like the ones we saw during the Champions Trophy in 2013, were far more like the ones you find on the subcontinent than anything that you're likely to see in Australia and New Zealand. So I don't think the spinners will be as much of a factor as they were in this series. Uh, you certainly won't find somebody like Suresh Raina picking up the wickets that he did against England. So I think India have to really work on that bowling combination. The pace bowling especially looks very thin. Uh, you look at the pitches that they're likely to encounter in Australia, and you need, uh, I don't know, maybe somebody like Varun Aaron coming back. I'm sure they'll have to think along the lines of bringing Ishant back into the mix at some stage. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, does he have the pace to bowl on Australian pitches? These are all questions that have to be answered over the next 5 months. And India don't have much time. The five-match one-day series against West Indies at home is completely irrelevant as far as the World Cup is concerned. So that basically only leaves the tri-series as preparation, and you'd have to say that they're also uh, quite a distance away from identifying their best 15 and their best 11. I think the main concerns still remain the pace bowling.